Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss to you how to get the form data using Javaserver phases and managing beans. We will get data from the text box and the text area. And so using NetBeans, we will get data from a form where the data will come from TextBox and TextArea. We will also be using CommandButton and Java Bean. So let's get started with this by creating a new project. I'm going to click here for the file menu and the new project. And we will select Java Web Application, and hit on the next. So let's go ahead and create the web application. So to start with, I'm going to click on the file menu, new project. And since we're going to create Javaserver phases application, so we will be using Java Web here. We will be selecting the Java Web here and the web application, and hit on the next button. The next application will be, the next step will be the name of the project, and so I'm going to call it as something like let's call it as get data from form. That's the name of the project. And so I will be saving it in this folder here, or better yet, I'm going to change it. So if you would like to change the folder where you want to save your project, you have to click on the browse and this dialog box will appear. So I'm just going to use this folder here and open. So as you can see, it changed, so it will save here. So the name of our project will be this one, get data from form. And so let's go ahead and click on the next button here. And we will be using the Glassfish server 4.1.1. So the rest will be as it is, the default. So we'll click on the next button here. And since we are going to create a Javaserver phases application, so we have to click and make sure it is checked. So let's hit on the checkbox. If it is not showing the check in the checkbox, so we just have to keep on doing that. Sometimes it will take a little bit time depending on the speed of your computer. So there you go. So the check is there, and we will accept these defaults here, and we will click on the next finish button here. So those are the 4 steps in creating the web application project for JSF. So all we need to do now is to wait. NetBeans is doing now the framework here. All right. So on the last video, I already explained to you that it will create initially one XHTML file. It's called index.xhtml. So this is where we will put our form. And by the way, in this project, in this example here, we need to create 3 files. One is the form page, which is this one, this index.html file. We will make this as our first page that will have the form page. And then we will need another page, and that is the result page file. this file or this page will be the page that will show the data that we will get from the form. Okay, and so another file that we need is the Java file, which contains the Java bean. So it is here in this file where we will set our setters and getters, so that we can input data and we can get the data. So that is the setters and the getters. So we'll start with the form page here. So I'm gonna click here. So we don't need this. So all we need is a form. So I just need this space here to put the form, because we will be using controls. So TextBox, TextArea, CommandButton. So these are the controls. So all of this should be inside the form, and so that is what we're going to do. So to insert the form here, all we need is to right click and click on the insert code, and we have to select JSF form. There you go. So as you can see, it uses the H namespace, which pertains to HTML here. And so inside the form, we'll be inserting now our controls. So let us assume that we are going to input, let's say, employee name, for example. This is just an example where we will be inputting an employee name. The next will be, let's say, address, the address, and another one, perhaps, let's have the age. So these are the data that we need to get. All right, so to input the employee name, therefore we need the text box here, and then for the address we will put TextArea, and for the age we will use text box again, same with the employee name. So let's go ahead and do that. For the employee name, it will be text box. So all I need to do is to type the HTML code for that. And so since we are using the form, I mean the HTML, so I'm going to use the H colon, and that would be text here, input text. So let's double click it. Have to make sure that we have the ID. So let's call the ID as the name, and let's go ahead and put the value. Later on we will come back to this, but initially let's put it here. So later on we will add more value. I mean, we will add a value here later on that will serve as our data for this employee name. Okay, so let's close the beginning tag or the element for the input text. So since they are the same with the age, I'm just going to copy it, and let's paste it here. So all I need to do is to change the ID here. And since the address is a text area, so let's go ahead and put the text area. So it is here, input text area. So again, as you noticed, when you type the less than sign and then H, a drop-down menu will appear wherein you can select from this list of controls. So the control that we need is the input text area. So let's double click this. And just like the input text, so we will put ID, let's call it address, and the value will be, there you go. And let's just close it. So all controls will have ID, so definitely you will use the ID. So as you can see here, there is an ID here. So like I said, we will return for the value here later on once we finish with our setters and getters. Okay, so then lastly, to accept or to get all this data that we will input in the form, so we need a button. So I think we need a command button here. There you go. So I'm going to say CMD. Next will be the value. Let's call it something like submit data. Let's call it like that. It will serve as the label for the button, submit data. And we need an action. An action is, let's call it as show data. So what this show data here? So it uses the action and then is equal to show data. So what will be this show data here? This is the second file that I am referring. So this is the result page. All right. This is the result page actually. So when we hit the button, it will go into this file, show data. So that is what is going to happen. And so in that show data page, that is where we will display our input for employee name, address, and the age. So let's go ahead and create this show data page here. All right, so it is actually an HTML page. So let's go ahead and do that. So since it is a web page, so we have to go here in the web page folder here. So all I need to do is to right click on it, new, and you have to select JSF pages or page, but it's not here. So let's go ahead with the other. So JSF page is not here. So let's go to the other. And so here it is, JSF server, JSF or Javaserver faces under categories. So we have to make sure that we select JSF page and hit next. So the file name for this should match this one, show data. So I'm going to say show data. And that's it. That's all that we need to do. And we have to click on the finish here. So again, the purpose of this show data here is to show the data we inputted from the form. Okay, so the data coming from the employee name, the age, and the address. So that is what we're supposed to do. So it is supposed to be showing here, right? So in the meantime, we will skip this one. What is important, we have this file now, this show data XHTML. Let's go ahead and we will just come back here so that we can display our data here later on, because we need to set our setters and the getters by creating a bean file, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So all we need to do is to click on the source packages here. So we have to right click over here, new. It should be manage bean, but it's not here. So let's go ahead and click on the other. So Javaserver faces is still under categories, and we have here JSF manage bean. So I'm going to click next. So let's go ahead and click type data, get data. This is the name of our bean. You can assign any name here. It's up to you. But in this example, we will just use get data. That's the name of our bean. So again, in this file, it is a Java file where we will set our setters and the getters. Okay, so go ahead and click on the finish. The setters and the getters are the variables, no, that we will set for our from our form, because we will input employee name, age, and address. So we need setters and getters for those. So here it is, getData.java. So that is the file that I am referring here, the Java file. So now we have the three files here. So we have the form page, which is the index.html, xhtml, the result page, which is the showData.xhtml. It is where we will display the data we input from the form, and to get those data, we need getters. So that is where we will put those setters and getters in this file. It's called getData.java. Okay, so let's continue. Since we need the Javaserver Faces library for what we're going to do next, so these are not the library that we need, and these two are for this one here, value get data dependent. These are what we don't want to use, so we don't need this. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to remove this by using the // which is for comment, but instead I will be using @manage bean. Alright, and then name. Let's go and use let's say variable obj object. It's up to you whatever name that you will use for your manage bean. So in this example, I will be using obj, and as we all know, JSF manage bean are lazy or is lazy. So let's make it not lazy by putting eager equal true. Next is I'm going to use the request scope. And since these two are not, the libraries for these two are not yet declared, so we just have to declare them here at the top of the code. So somewhere here, before the one here, or maybe somewhere here. And since we don't need this, these are not the the library that we need. So I'm just going to remark them or make them as a comment. And here's the nice thing about these NetBeans here. Because for you not to memorize, or if you forgot the library that you need here, so let NetBeans do it for you. Actually, it is giving you an idea already what is missing by having this icon here. So this means that manage bean here and the request scope here, their libraries are not yet declared. That's the meaning of this. Something like a bulb here with a question mark here. So it doesn't know what is the meaning of this. So I'm just going to click this one here, and let's declare the library. So add import from Java X Faces. So this is what we need. So I'm just going to click it, and as you notice, it was added there. So if you forgot the exact name of the library, then that's the way to do it. And if you notice, the question mark here in red disappeared. So let's do that also for the request scope. So I'm just going to click it, and I'm going to select the Java X Faces Bean request scope. There you go. So when you click it, and you will see that it was added there. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue. The next is I'm going to declare a variable, because we are going to input 3 data. So let's have 3 variables for those 3 data. So again, those are the employee name, address, and age. So let's continue again. So here under the public class get data, I'm just going to say private. Let's call it ename for the employee name. Oops, I forgot the data type. Let's call it string. Next will be the private string. Let's call it address. Private, since we're talking about age, so we can use a string if we wish to, but let's just use int so that we have a different data type here. So let's call it age. So, but you can use a string here because anyway, we are not going to compute for it. There is no computation involved for the variable age, so we can use a string here, but so that we have a different data type, so we will just be using int. The next is, let us now set the setters and the getters, since we have three variables now. So we will have a setters and getters for these three variables. So all we need to do is to go here. Let's declare them here under public or after the public get data a function here. So I'm going to right click here and I'm just going to use insert code. And you will see that there's getter and setter here. If you need getter only, so you have to go here. And if you need setter only, you have to go here. But we need two, one getter and one setter for each variable. So let's go ahead and click this one here. And since we need setters and getters, or setter or getter for each of these variables, so I'm going to click select all and I'm going to click generate here. So there you go. As you notice, the setters and getters were now created here. So public get ename, and then we have here set ename. So for each variable. So I'm going to save this one now. All right. So that's how it is. So since we have the setters and the getters, we can now go back to our show data here. Show data XHTML. Remember this file here? This is the result page that I am referring here, where we will show the data we got from the form. So we will show all those data here. So let's say let's put here the employee name. Here we will be displaying it here. So let's display the data that we type from the form. So we will be typing the hashtag here, open curly bracket, and we need the object that we use, or the named object or variable that we used in our setters and getters file, which is actually obj. There you go. So that's the purpose of the obj here. Right, that's the name of the bean. So let's go ahead and continue. So I'm going to say obj here, that, and then the variable or the setter or getter for the getter. No? So there you go. So I just need a br here so that it will go on the next line. And then the next is the address. I will just be copying this so that it will be a little bit faster. So this one will be address. To make sure, I'm going to go to the Java file for our manage bin file. So it is, yes, address. The next one is the age. So I'm just going to copy this and I'll just change this to age. And this one should be age. So there you go. So once we click the command button from here, all the data that we input from our form will show here. That's all what we need to do. Right? That is, this application is all about how to get data from the form. So also, by the way, I think I forget the BR here, so that it will our form controls will not be on the same line. So we will display our controls one after the other for each row. It's like that. And we have to declare also here our variable in the value, right? So this variable that I'm referring to, these are the variables we need to put here. So for the ename, this one is for the address, and this one is for the age. So let's try, and hopefully it will work without a problem. If there is a problem, we will just be fixing it. So let's go ahead and test it by running it. So I'm going to click this button right over here, or you can press the F6. So sometimes it will take a little time depending on your computer or the speed of your computer, but you just have to wait. As you can see from this bar here, it's going to show here that it is compiling it. So let's just wait for it until it will come out to a browser. So it will show the result in a browser. And so here it is now. The output of our web application is now shown in the web browser. And so we have here a text box for the name or the employee name, a text area for the address, and another text box for the age. So let's go ahead and fill up this. For example, the name is Robert. The address, for example, is the address will be, let's say Sohar. And the age will be, for example, 40 years old. So let's go ahead and click Submit Data. So there you go. This is exactly what we want to do. So as you can see, the names or the data that we would like to show based on our form are here. So this is the second page that we are referring to. This is the result page. So this is how you just create the program or application where you have a form and you will get the data from the form and display this data in another page. So if we would like to come back again to our code, so it will be here in the NetBeans. So again, the form, the index file or the file for our form is index.html or xhtml. So this is the composition of the form. Once we click the get button, it will show the data that we inputted from these controls. It will show here. This is the file, that is the show data xhtml, and that is what we specified in the command button here. Okay, show data. So exactly that is the name of the file where it will go. Now the one responsible for getting the data is the Java file for the bean. So this is how we manage the bean. Here it is. So this is how we get the data from the form and show the data from the form. If you like this video, please click on the like button. And if you would like to support this channel, please do subscribe, and see you on the next video. Thank you very much.